they're going to find an edge. Bass are always going to move on an edge. They're not going to just go across ultra flat stuff. They want that edge. And if you can find that edge can be ultra productive day after day.
The award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We got another great show for you today. Excited to have Ian Huey back, and we're going to talk fishing. It's early spring. Spring's on its way, and we're going to talk about where the bass are going. So it's going to be a fun show. Don's here helping co-host.
Looking forward to it, Jason. I always learn a lot when Ian comes in.
I appreciate that.
So looking forward to this one.
Yes, sir. It's going to be a good one.
It's been fun having him in, and this is number 2, show number 2, kind of following up on the winter bass. And I thought it might be good just to recap that just for a short bit.
Yeah.
So where were the fish in the winter, and then we'll get into where they're going right now.
Definitely. You know, talking about the winter time, we're obviously transitioning out of there, so it's very important to know where they are coming from so we can kind of know where they're going to go. You know, they're coming off those deeper bluffs, channel swings, that kind of thing. You know, it's time of year that they're looking to get up shallow, and you know, where everybody loves to fish, and boy, you can catch them good.
Right.
So
yeah. All right. So they're going to be moving up into the more shallow water, and we're still going to highlight the 4 major types of bodies: the natural lakes or ponds, river systems, reservoirs, the Highland and the Lowland reservoirs. That's what we're going to cover today. And this is probably one of the better times of the year to be fishing, bass fishing anyway, because you're going to catch the biggest fish, right?
Oh, there's absolutely no doubt. If you want big fish, right now's the time.
Yeah.
You know, they're definitely heavier than they are all year. They've got the eggs. You know, they're getting close. You know, we're the middle of February right now. Doesn't matter.
Takes me back to new state record time. I remember it was this time of year when the latest state record was caught.
That's absolutely correct. Out of Chickamauga. And that was a sow, buddy. That was that was a big one. But they're all right now, even though it's not every day up in the 80s, beautiful, they're absolutely thinking about it. You know, it's the length of the day. Days are getting a little longer. They're absolutely thinking about it. Get a couple warm days in a row, they're up there. You know? So
okay, awesome. Well, let's hit on natural lakes and ponds first. Like I said, we're going to hit all these different water bodies, and then we're going to talk about some baits. We got a lot of baits here to talk about, and also we're going to tie a few knots today and show people how to do that. So
awesome.
Let's start out with ponds. Where are you going to find fish this time of year as spring's starting to come on in ponds and natural lakes?
Absolutely. So natural lakes and ponds, the things that they have in common is that they don't have a lot of deeper water. You know, it's a lot of shallower water, meaning that it's going to warm up quicker. They're going to get more active quicker, you know, and they can be a lot easier to find and a lot easier to pinpoint because they don't have all those different varieties to go to. So what we're looking for, whether it be a pond or a natural lake, they're not going to have a lot of times a true channel that's actually going into the lake. So they're going to find an edge. Bass are always going to move on an edge. They're not going to just go across ultra flat stuff. They want that edge. And if you can find that edge can be ultra productive day after day. You know, they're just cruising down that edge. Days are getting a little longer. They have on their mind, hey, I need to get moving. You know, and that edge is where they're going to find it. It doesn't have to be an ultra, you know, deep edge. It can be a couple feet, you know, even on a golf course pond. You know, it's just muddy and flat. You're talking a couple feet, you know, that can absolutely hold those bass. That's their highway. That's where they're going.
Okay.
Going back up in what they might call a finger if they can find it on some of these ponds and lakes and whatnot. But okay, cool. One term I wanted to throw out there was bumps, or what you want, stop signs. I think earlier, you know, we were talking about that earlier before the show. You'll find them on things like this, right?
Absolutely. And when we talk about a stop sign, we're not talking about a huge difference in a break or a ledge like that. So we're talking about a little indention. We're talking about that whole edge is muddy, and then all of a sudden there's a nice little rock pile. There's a nice little brush pile, a log. And I've even heard it talked about like a trash can or or a plastic seat.
Okay.
You know, that can be that little bit of difference. You know, those brush piles that you were hanging in, you know, throughout the year, that can hold an unbelievable amount of fish. Just a little bit different something.
Okay.
So.
Gotcha. Awesome. So how's that differ on a river? I mean, rivers are moving a lot of times.
Absolutely.
You know, the current's different. Water's probably not as warm, and they're looking for warmer water, right?
That's exactly right. And just like in the winter, when we talk about they want to get out of that current, it's the exact same thing right now. You know, they do not want to be in that current. Obviously, they can't spawn in that current. But what you're going to have, especially like in the backs of oxbows or arms, you're going to have a little bit of warmer water coming in, right? Okay. And that is huge. You're talking a couple degrees like in the backs of arms or whatever. You're talking, I mean, that can be absolutely killer. They're going to get out of that current where they don't have to work. They don't have to burn energy.
Right.
And they're just up there cruising. Water's going to warm way, way faster up there too, you know, and that's the ultimate destination is in the backs of those arms, in the backs of those pockets, in those sloughs. So that's kind of what we're looking for there.
Awesome. Would you say that, is it safe to say that once you find them at a certain point, depth, and whatever, throughout the whole lake or river or whatever system you're on, you're going to find them at that same?
Oh, there's no doubt.
Okay.
Absolutely. You know, and a lot of times we talk about patterning fish. Right now, buddy, you can pattern those fish. You know, if they're either going to be, you know, I try to break it down easy. You know, are they in the very front of the arm? Are they in the middle? Or are they in the back? Right now, we're really not looking in the back necessarily. We're going to be looking midways and up, you know, towards the front of them, not deep, but towards the beginnings of those pockets and arms.
Gotcha.
So a lot of fun.
Yeah. So reservoirs, and I want to try to define these bigger reservoirs for folks too. The Highland reservoir and the Lowland. What can you define a Highland for them? And then where are we going to find them in these bodies of water?
Absolutely. So that's something that I've had a lot of guys ask me about. You know, what is a true Highland reservoir? What's a Lowland? What's your differences? When we talk about a Highland reservoir, okay, we're talking about bluffy, very, very sheer, very steep. You're talking like you look up the side of a hill and see a deer on the side of the hill while you're fishing. You're like, how in the world is he on that? Yeah. Because of the grade of it. So that's our Highland reservoirs. Very, very, very steep, very rocky, deep, deep water. You know, not a lot of mid-level. It's either shallow or it's ultra deep. You know, good example of that would be like Center Hill. You know, that's a good example. They have a lot of these actually in eastern part of the state. You know, whereas a Lowland reservoir, it's more rolling. So it's Priest is more of like a Lowland to me. You know, it's got a lot of those knobs or bumps like we're talking about. Whereas in the Highland, exactly. Whereas the Highlands, you're not going to have that. You know, hills around the lake, even they're not going to be nearly as sharp of an incline. They're going to be more rolling. You know, and it's very important to know the difference in those two because they can act totally different. You know, the fish can act totally different. They're going to use the humps and the little bumps like we talked about more in a Lowland than a Highland reservoir. It's going to be more about those points, you know, where they are on those points. And there are tons and tons of points on those Highland reservoirs, tons of points. So, yeah, that's really the primary difference to me in them. Okay,
so deeper water on the Highland, more shallow water on the Lowland, I guess, and like you said, and then so does it take longer for a Highland to warm up?
It absolutely does.
I feel like I've heard that before, but the Highland reservoirs are going to be cooler longer, right?
Absolutely right, and that's just primarily due to the depth of the water. You know, you have a larger depth of water, it's going to take longer, obviously, for it to warm up as opposed to a Lowland that you get the water running in the backs of those creeks and stuff. I mean, that can absolutely be killer on actually both a Highland and a Lowland, but when you're looking in the backs of those pockets and arms and little bitty pockets off to the side of those arms and stuff, if you can find that water rolling in, it can be
the spot.
It can be lights out. Awesome. It can be lights out.
And this is a fast fishing time or a slow fishing time? What when you're going after these fish, are you slow rolling it or what's your
absolutely
technique?
So a lot of guys, they'll get hung up. Hey, I'm in the middle of February. Hey, it's cold. I'm wide open, buddy. I am not
not holding back.
No, sir. No, sir. There's no doubt that you're going to have the bass on a lot of your winter spots, still that very vertical stuff, that you're going to have to kind of back off if you're going to try to catch those fish. To me, I'm up in those arms. I'm constantly looking. That's where your moving baits are going to come in. You know, I'm actually looking for the bass that are up, moving, and actually active. So when we talk about those arms, when we talk about those points, I'm generally not shaky heading, Ned rigging. I'm moving, throwing baits, you know, that you're constantly cranking, you know, covering the water. You know, it is the time of year. I don't care what month it is the time of year you can move, buddy.
Yeah.
A couple degrees in water temperature, get moving.
So the last time you were in, we were talking about the worm, the shaky head, and some other techniques that you would suggest, you know, in the wintertime.
Absolutely.
So now we're moving more toward the fast fishing
That's
stuff.
exactly right. Right as the water hits lower 50s or even 50, I'm moving. I'm moving, looking for active fish.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, let's I think Don wanted to cover one thing.
Yeah, I don't mean to throw a wet blanket over all this, but you know, safety is a big issue, especially with us. You know, we're as an agency, we're charged with, you know, patrolling the waters, keeping the water safe, making sure that folks are in compliance with their life jackets and that kind of thing. But way beyond compliance, you know, having one on board, you know, I'd just like to encourage everybody who's listening and considering, especially going out this time of year. The water's cold, and man, if you're trolling around, you might hit a rock you weren't expecting, a stump you weren't expecting,
Stop sign.
a stop
Yeah,
sign,
right.
a real stop sign, yeah. And man, in an instant, you are in a world of hurt if you
right.
don't have the proper life jacket on. And you know, for years we've really been encouraging, touting those inflatables, especially for anglers, because they are so easy to navigate. Once you get used to, you know, you pop that thing on in a few minutes, you kind of forget you got it on.
Absolutely.
And the belt packs are a good addition too. So anyway, I just wanted to go there just to be sure that.
Oh, there is no doubt that if we always encourage wearing a life jacket, so important. But this time of year, if you go in the water, you better have one on.
Yeah.
Because you're incapacitated quick, buddy. That you wouldn't think it. The air may be nice and warm, but that water.
And especially when
up.
you're out there in a guiding role, you know,
doubt.
taking folks out, you want to make sure that they come back.
Oh,
you know,
there's no doubt, buddy. That's a lot of paperwork.
yeah.
That's a lot of paperwork.
So what do you prefer on the boat? Do you wear an inflatable?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay.
And I definitely encourage everybody to wear one. If you ever wear one, right now is the time to do
Yeah.
it. Because that air temperature can feel so good, but that water, man, it is, oh my gosh, it's minutes, within
your
minutes.
breath away, for
oh
sure.
my Lord, within minutes you can't do anything. That's a fact.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important. That's a good point.
And if it's a really cold day, float coats are fun too. Keep
Yeah.
you warm and keep you
Oh,
afloat.
no doubt,
So.
buddy. No doubt.
All right. Well, that's our safety tip of the day.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Now back to fishing. That's good though. We need to get that stuff in there. Folks need to understand that it can be dangerous out there if you're not careful.
That's a fact.
So let's talk about these baits. You pulled one up there and showed us one. Let's highlight as many as we got here if we can. We'll have plenty of time, I think, and tell us how you'd fish these guys.
Let's do it. So, jerk baits. I catch bass on jerk baits. Everybody kind of thinks of this as a winter bait. You know, it's got to be cold. It's got to be snow and ice. I catch them all the way up into May on a jerk bait.
I love these little guys on creeks, smaller ones, you know.
Whack them on them,
Yeah.
buddy. They're awesome, awesome baits. Very, very versatile. You know, you can be on a bluff over 100 foot of water. You can be in a couple feet of water in the back of a pocket. You know, awesome, awesome baits. Not that I don't try to throw them right now.
You can grab it if you need to.
Not that I don't try to throw them right now, but they're not ideal for really covering our water. When we're talking about covering water, we're talking about like I think it's a 2.5, a little bit bigger bait. You can move, you can cover water. You can see a trend with our baits here, that red color. Red is awesome. This really, really awesome this time of year. really seems to shine. We're talking 1.5. This is probably a more common bait, for your ponds, lakes. Awesome bait. You can absolutely catch tons and tons of fish.
It's got a square bill on it. What's the action going to look like?
So that's key. Your square bill right here. This bait is made to dig. This bait, especially with our largemouth. Yes, sir. Especially with our largemouth, they don't want a bait coming just straight through the water. They want that bait on the bottom, digging, rolling up, kind of deflecting. That's actually going to trigger a bite. He can be sitting there just hanging out, not really in the feeding mood, and the bait comes by and it kicks up or something, does a little bit different. That can absolutely make him bite that bait. So whenever we're throwing crankbaits, we want to be on the bottom.
Okay.
We've got to be on the bottom. We've got to be digging. A different kind of crankbait, we're going to have a lipless right here. So
Lipless with the Alabama rig.
Yeah, right. So a lipless is an awesome bait as well. 100% reaction bait. Makes a lot of noise. Makes a lot of noise. Got the rattles in it. That and it drives them nuts. Right. So there again, they're kind of hanging out. Don't really want to eat, but this thing comes flying by their face. Absolutely, they can't not bite it. There's a couple different ways that we can actually fish a lipless as well. And when you go out, you're going down a bank and you're kind of retrieving it the exact same way every time. You're really not getting bites. We absolutely want to vary what we're doing. So we're going to cast it and burn it. Couple casts. We're going to cast it and do what we call yo-yo. So we're reeling and then we jerk up and we let that bait come back down just on its own. Falling nice and slow. We're going to reel, jerk up, and it's going to come up and then just come. So
a little bit different presentation.
Exactly. So we're always trying different things, So don't get hung up just going down a bait, casting and reeling. Vary it, and that even goes with the crankbaits as well.
Okay.
So we're always trying something a little different. So this is a medium diving crankbait. It's actually a Rapala, awesome early season bait. We have that's actually the tie there, but it's balsa wood.
Okay.
So it's quiet, and this bait, as opposed to this bait, obviously, this is going to have a very wide wobble, moving a lot of water as it's coming through the water. It's a lot louder, a lot more aggressive.
That square bill on the front that makes it
exactly,
do that. Okay.
And it's going to have a very, very wide wobble.
Makes it dive.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The bills are going to make them dive, and the longer the bill, the deeper it's going to dive. So it's got a little bit longer bill and quite a bit more narrow, which is automatically going to tell me that bait's going to have a lot tighter wobble. So this bait's coming through the water very, very loud.
Okay.
This bait, no rattles in it, and it's very narrow wobble.
A little softer, yeah.
Yes, sir. I really prefer the narrow wobble in the cleaner water, because they can see quite a bit further off. So this is a lot more natural in that cleaner water, whereas you get that dirty water, this is going to move a lot more water, going to help them find that bait and track that bait down to eat it. So these are really two different classes of baits that we're actually throwing right now. This is a DT10. You can get about 10 foot on a cast, and it's awesome on those little humps we talked about, or those bumps.
Okay.
Those offshore little bumps. This is absolutely where I'm going.
Okay.
And then we've also got a little shallower diving. You can see this lip on this is quite a bit
a little smaller, a little shorter.
That's exactly right. We've got the exact same action, nice and tight, but we're only going 6 foot ish. So awesome bait. Awesome bait for this time of year.
So you can throw these with a bait caster, with a spinning reel.
Absolutely.
They'll work with both. Probably a bait caster is a little easier, I'd say.
We prefer a bait caster. Now, you get much smaller than this, spinning reel's awesome, man, because you can really toss the bait out.
Yeah.
These balsa baits are quite a bit lighter than like our plastic baits. So they actually do really well on a spinning rod for sure.
Cool.
So we have another jerk bait here. A little different. As you can see, we've got quite a bit more of a lip on it, so it's got the exact same action. This is hopefully going to get down to 8 to 10 foot. And me, when I'm throwing the deeper running jerk baits, so on this one, we're jerking, tap, tap, tap. This, to me, is more of a pull. Pull and then stop.
Long pulls.
Pull and then stop. Pull and then stop. So and that's important to have when they're a little bit deeper. You get that cold front come through, push a little deeper. You were catching them on the shallower running bait.
Right.
You're not now.
That's
definitely the time.
And those
to
have
pull
some
that out.
noise to it too. I can see that you got some little rattles inside.
Exactly. And that just helps them to find that bait a little better. You have a little dinge in the water.
Cool.
Something like that.
Well, we got what you called earlier an ugly looking,
funky
this
looking
ugly
now.
bait. Yeah, this
Funky looking.
this spinning bait here.
So this spinnerbait here have a couple Colorado blades on it. This has got a bunch of thump, and this is what you want to be throwing. Lord knows we've had enough rain lately. Good Lord.
Yeah.
This is what you want to be throwing in that dirty, dirty, muddy water. The biggest Colorado blade that you can find. What this allows you to do, after you cast out and you're reeling it in, you can barely turn that handle, and this is catching a bunch of water, keeping that bait up where you don't have to burn it.
Okay.
Right? So you cast it out, and then you're just barely cranking that handle just enough to let that blade get to killing. Or kicking, rather, So in that darker color is easier for them to find in the muddier, dirtier water. So you would think like that thing is sure enough ugly. That's absolutely what you want in that dirtier water so that they can find that bait.
Yeah.
So that's an awesome bait for right now as well.
Do you think I see some reds, and we got a lot of reds here? Do you think that mimics a little blood, or do you think that works?
Absolutely, and even if it doesn't mimic the blood necessarily, it's all about the contrast.
Okay.
So you've got the black and then the red. You have contrast.
Okay.
Which is a big thing even in our crankbaits and stuff, right? So this bait, when it's coming through the water, it's not coming through the water like this. It's rolling. So it's black, red, and that contrast can absolutely be key. Absolutely.
Awesome.
And then, of course, we've got the Alabama rig.
Yeah. Or what some people call umbrella rig, right?
That's it. Yep. Big
Hate
fish
to give
catcher.
Alabama too much credit. No.
All right. No, I hear you. Yeah, so this is everybody knows the last couple years this thing has been, monster. It has caught fish, and it'll catch them into the spawn.
Yeah, it's even prompted regulation changes.
It absolutely has. Absolutely has. And there's actually a couple different variants that we can use on our Alabama rigs when we're looking at baits. We have a couple different sizes of baits. I'm always trying to go with natural colors. Generally, when we're throwing an Alabama rig, it's in cleaner water. It's not a good bait if it's dirtier water, or we're throwing that spinner bait. We're not throwing an Alabama rig. So I'm always trying to go with a natural color like this. You've got a bigger bait here with a bigger tail on it.
Okay.
It's going to move more water. So a little dingier water, I want that big tail right there where it's going to move that water.
Similar to that Colorado blade.
Exactly. As opposed to a little bait right here, almost the same length, but look at the difference in the tail.
Oh, yeah.
It's half the size. So it's not moving near as much water, and it's tighter wobble, like we saw on those crankbaits. So this, generally, I'm going to throw in a little bit cleaner water, where I want a more natural, presentation.
And the technique is throw it out there and reel it in, right?
Buddy, it couldn't be any easier.
Okay.
You're literally throwing it out and letting it drop. If they're a little deep, you're going to let it drop, and then you're literally just barely turning that reel handle, just enough to make that bait come through the water.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it's 3 hooks, right? You can have 3 baited hooks on,
That's exactly
on
right.
the umbrella rig. The other 2 have to be just the worm itself, dummy. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay. So you got 3 to 1, three better odds for that with that rig. If you're just casting, and throwing. So yeah,
and you absolutely can catch multiples on a cast. It's a lot of fun.
Even bank fishing with this probably.
That's what I was about to say.
Okay.
Absolutely, you can. You absolutely can. Absolutely.
Because these fish are near the banks right now, or could be easier to catch from the bank, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. You get a couple days where the temperature jumps up. It doesn't matter if it's January, February. They're going to ease up there towards the bank. Warmer water, So.
Well, I don't want to run out of time, and you've brought some props to show us how to tie.
Let's do
a
it.
few knots. So I think probably a Palomar is pretty popular for bass fishing. That's probably one of the more popular. Let's show them how to do that.
Let's do it. So I've got some rope here.
Demonstration stuff here.
Absolutely. So I've got some rope and a washer. This will obviously be the eyelet of the bait. We're going to run the line through our eyelet, and then we're going to double back. So what we've made right here is literally a loop. That's all it is. We're going to take this and we're going to tie a very simple overhand knot. We're not going to pull down tight.
Just like tying a shoe.
That's exactly right. So we've literally got an overhand knot that we haven't pulled tight. Very important. Do not pull that tight yet. We're going to take this loop that we have left and we're going to take it over the entire bait. Like so. And we're going to pull it back down to, and literally all we're going to do here, wet the line. Very important. We've got to wet the line. Because if you don't, you'll
friction. And,
that's exactly right. You'll burn that line, and then you'll be in a world of hurt.
Dip it in the water, or put it in your mouth, something, lick it a little bit.
That's exactly right. Once we come over the bait there, we've come over the bait. We're literally just going to cinch down. That's literally all that there is to it. Now this rope's obviously not going to cinch as well as like a fluorocarbon or a monofilament, but that's literally all that there is to the bait.
Cool.
So
let's see. Now, the other one that I wanted to touch on was a clinch, and that could be used for a lot of different things as well.
Absolutely.
Probably the most common, or one of the more common.
Absolutely. And it's not a very good knot if you're throwing fluorocarbon because of the burn that you're inherently going to get with it. If I can get this untied.
Yeah, we got about 2 minutes.
Yep. Here we go.
Show how it's done. No pressure.
Right? So we run through the bait there again. We're going to twist. Very simply make a twist. And then we're going to run right
5 or 6 times, I guess.
That's exactly right. We're going to run down through the hole we've made and then pull tight. That's all there is to it.
Simple as that.
Super simple.
Remember to wet it, right?
That's exactly. Gotta wet it. Gotta wet it. And then we've got it there.
Awesome.
So, yes, sir.
I think this has been pretty informative.
Yeah. Hey, if somebody's interest is piqued and wants to find out a little bit more about how to get in touch with Ian, what's the scoop on that?
Fisholdhickory.com, and then on Facebook it's Fish the Hick, right?
That's it, buddy.
Fish the Hick.
That's it, buddy.
So we appreciate you, Ian. It's been fun.
I have had a ball.
We're 2 shows into this fishing 101 or bass fishing 101. I think it's going to be good for folks to.
It is going to be awesome.
Know where to go, and I'm looking forward to when it gets even warmer what we're going to do next.
Oh, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
We need to get on the water with you.
That's what I'm thinking. A remote on the water is
so
the next step.
That's absolutely going to happen.
We'll cast a few and see if we can show people how to do it. So
Let's do it.
All right. Well, Ian, thank you.
All right, man. Thank
Don,
y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. You bet.
All right. This is Tennessee WildCast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee WildCast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.